Mentor lawyer here. I just finished doing the summary of Professor Lacasse's testimony at trial, and I decided to therefore do a timeline incorporating his testimony. Per his testimony, in the summer of 2013, Charlie Adelson, according to Wendy Adelson, had looked into other options for taking care of her problem, her relocation problem. That is, Professor Markel. So she said that he looked into hiring a hitman to kill Markel and found out how much it would cost. This is in the summer of 2013. In the spring break of 2014, Wendy takes Lacasse to South Florida. He meets Kathy McManua, Charlie, her brother, and Donna. Before he met Charlie, Wendy supposedly described her brother as a character and mentioned that he owns a Ferrari. June 4, 2014, that's the date when the Garcia/Rivera team made their first trip to Tallahassee to kill Professor Markel. And that's the same day, June 4, 2014, when, according to Professor Lacasse, Wendy was acting completely weird. She was totally freaked out. She was sick to her stomach. She needed medication. She canceled the trip to California. She was just a total wreck that day. So that's the same day when there were killers coming over to take care of the problem. June 10, 2014, Lacasse, by the way, the June 4th, that's another coincidence, right? So many coincidences. Alright, so June 10, 2014, Lacasse tells Wendy about his plans to leave for Tennessee on Friday, July 18, 2014 at 11 a.m. We later find out, of course, that that's exactly the same time, or about the same time, when the shooting took place. Professor Lacasse says that Wendy was the only person in Tallahassee to know of his plan. June 15, 2014, Wendy Adelson is at the beach with Kathy McBanua. End of June, Professor Lacasse and Wendy Adelson go to a trip to Gainesville. They have an argument that weekend over the fact that she's still seeing other men. They're upset at each other. The relationship is in trouble. Pretty much immediately thereafter, she goes to South Florida for a couple of weeks. And on July 13, 2014, she's back in Tallahassee and they have an argument at Wendy's house. She brings up the fact that she would move to South Florida if something happened to Markel, and that in the previous summer her brother Charlie had looked into the possibility of solving the problem by having Markel killed, and then mentions the $15,000 or $50,000. So that's when she tells him that, and she tells him that during this long conversation about the relationship, and some moments saying, hey, listen, I want to tell you something, but this is confidential, and then that's when she blurts that out. Okay, now the next day, July 14, 2014, they go on a date, trying to mend the relationship, but later that night, she writes an email to Lacasse saying that she wants for them not to see each other for a whole week. He takes that to mean that they probably broke up. But later, she didn't seem to have completely wanted to break up yet, but they eventually did break up. July 17, 2014, Professor Lacasse changes his mind and leaves early for Tennessee without telling Wendy or anyone in Tallahassee. Lucky guy. July 18, 2014, at approximately 10:40 to 10:50 a.m., Markel is shot at his garage, and this is about the same time as Lacasse would be leaving town, making it look like he's running away or flying the scene. July 18, 2014, later that day, Wendy mentions Lacasse as a possible culprit to law enforcement. And finally, August of 2014, sometime in August, Lacasse has a conversation with Wendy. During the conversation, Wendy mentions that she finally went out to dinner with Charlie, and that Charlie referred to the dinner as the celebration dinner. that's the same dinner that she threw up at as she testified earlier in the trial. So that's the, I guess, timeline of all these coincidences and all this bad evidence against the Adelsons.
So on the one hand, it seems to me that at least there are more and more coincidences building up that seem to point out that if they're not coincidences, then they show that there was some guilt or some participation by the Adelsons. On the other hand, it seems quite strange that somebody who would be so cunning as to even set up a patsy is telling incriminating statements to that patsy that would lead law enforcement to Charlie Adelson. So, strange.
Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe for more interesting analysis about this case and other interesting legal news.